Well, thank you for coming on my show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And of course, you were born in Jamaica. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then, of course, you were recruited by Disney. Is that also correct?
Yeah, I worked for Disney World in Florida for a very long time. Yeah, that was my.
And how was it like working for Disney?
It was pretty awesome considering that on my very last performance in college, there was a talent scout that had come out from Disney and spotted me and offered me a private audition because I guess I fit exactly what they were looking for at the time because I could read music and sing parts. And so I went, I had this audition and I got hired on the spot, which is like a wild thing when you think about like all the things that have to come together to book a job. So the experience was awesome and I just fit what was needed at the time. So it was great. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So a little bit more about you because folks are probably wondering, the audience, what made you attracted to become an actress and get into this industry?
Well, as you know, I started out singing. That's what I went to college for. I got a scholarship for that. And after a while of doing that full time, what I realized was I was trying to get into the singing songwriting aspect of things. And it was just a tough road. Just
Hmm.
I had a certain image of who I was and what I wanted to be in that industry. And the industry had an idea of who they thought I was and what they wanted me to be, and it did not commingle. So I was a bit disillusioned with just doing original work, and I just wanted to make an impact, by
Hmm.
writing and stuff. And I was coming up against a lot of roadblocks, and through Disney, I actually got to go to Hong Kong for 9 months, and my husband and I got to open up the park there, the Disneyland park there. And on the way, so we did a class, just a fun commercial workshop. And a friend of mine that I had made there, he was like, "Why are you in Florida? You need to be in California acting." It never really had crossed my mind at all. And so, like on the flight back home, we had a friend in Los Angeles, and we were chatting about what the guy had mentioned to me. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, if you move here, I'll give you a place to stay for a year so you can see if LA is your thing." And so on the flight home, my husband was like, "Are you going to just ignore all the signs that are kind of leading you to California and maybe taking the acting route?" And I was like, "Oh, it didn't really occur to me," but he's so insightful. He's very good with that sort of thing, seeing all the signs. And after putting thought into it, I realized that what I loved about the singing songwriting was the words, like the writing and the impact that good messaging could make, like the positive impact on people. And I thought maybe acting is where I'm actually meant to be going. So I came out here, stayed out for a year, and by 6 months, I was like, "Yep, I'm in." And my husband was like, "Okay, I guess we'll figure out how to get from Florida to California and make that all
Hmm.
happen." So that's kind of how I ended up acting full time because I figured, okay, if I'm going to make the transition, I should just let's go, let's do it, all in.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
amazing, from Florida all the way to the West Coast. So, and
Yeah.
no regrets.
I mean, absolutely no regrets. But what I will say is that as much as you think you might be prepared, because we did all the things, we put the money aside, we lined up, place to stay, all the things, and even still, we weren't prepared for like one, the price gap, because clearly East Coast versus West Coast price points are like what, like sticker shock, right? Um, and just it's starting over, right? I was starting over in a different industry. No one knew me here, right? So it's like building all those relationships and having to be consistent in the work, and just it's like literally ramping back up, doing something in a different vein, right? So it was
Hmm.
definitely work, but no regrets. You're right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Of course, I watched the TV show Lucifer, and you were in Lucifer. You were also in the TV show Lethal Weapon, season two, episode 7, I believe. And of course, you were in SWAT in
Yes.
2018, and
Uh-huh.
of course, American Crime, NCIS. So all those amazing roles you've done. Let's talk about your roles that you've done in American Crime Story. What can you tell people about that?
I gotta say, the thing that sticks out the most to me in American Crime Story is getting to work with Judith Light. Honestly, when I met her and just her she has this energy and this presence, and it's like she really listens to you. And I took note of that because I thought to myself, this is the kind of actor that I want to be. Like when people that are not like regulars on the show up, I want to have that warm, inviting energy that just
Mm-hmm.
really cares enough to deeply listen to the person. Like she, from day one, she had asked me questions about my husband, my life, all of these things. And when I saw her again, she asked me about my husband. She asked about our marriage. Like she just remembered. Like she really, really paid attention and held on to the information to just, she cared enough to care. So I have to say that that was an incredible experience. And then just inviting me back to be a bigger role than what I had auditioned for was just like, what? And mainly because they liked our energy together, which I thought was just incredible, right? Because I admired her so much, they could see, right? They could see
Mm-hmm.
that electricity on set, and just awesome, right? What an experience to work with somebody that you just really like so much and admire. And then because of that energy we created together, the invitation to come back and film a bit more was awesome.
And what can you tell everybody a little bit about the story about American Crime Story, folks that have not seen it yet?
Um, I would say, not to do any spoilers or anything, but it was just digging a bit into the life of the man behind the scenes and just like his family life, and from that perspective that you don't get a peek into that side of things, right? Mostly
Mm-hmm.
you just see what's hyped on television and the limited amount of information. Unless you go do your homework and fact find for yourself, you get what they're giving, and oftentimes it's not a complete story, right? So it was nice to be a part of the storytelling from like the behind, and those feelings and emotions and hardships that you go through. Even someone at that high level of celebrityism, they
Mm-hmm.
still got to do life like we got to do life. They
Yes.
have the feelings and the emotions, and they have disappointments. It's just on a bigger scale, right? So it was cool to be a part of that part of the storytelling, to just say this is the life behind the name, behind the man, behind the scene, and get to dig in a little bit to that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was really great.
That's amazing. I've seen it, of course. I'm not gonna spoil, of course, but it's
Right.
a great story background. Of course, let's talk about your role in SWAT. You were in episode one, season two, I believe, and I'm a big fan of SWAT, so shout out to SWAT. Um, so
Yeah.
what can you tell about your role, and how was it like working with all those cast members that it's still going on, of course, and
Yeah.
I can name all their names, but it's so many lists. But how was it working with them, and how was it like, and go
Yeah.
on from there?
I want to say my favorite part about doing SWAT was like getting all the artillery on me and feeling how that felt, and like getting talked through by the props master, like how everything, what's the functionality of the things that I had, and
Hmm.
also getting like a little bit of enough information so that I could do my job well, like really be believable as that level of law enforcement. And it was so crazy because like, we're running, we're jumping, we're doing certain things, hiding behind cars and all that kind of stuff. And what you don't take into consideration is like, it's weighted. It's heavy, like all that stuff that I had on my person. So like I forgot that for a minute when we first started, like, and action, right? And I'm like going as if I'm just me without all the things. And I was like, what? Like it literally pulled me down. And I was like, oh right, I need extra to get back up, stand up and keep going. So that kind of, it caught me off guard, but it's a reality check that these men and women that do this job, like for real,
Hmm.
all the extra things that you're not thinking that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like it was just like a really interesting, again, like a behind the scenes look at what it takes, like a day in, day out of this person, this role, this actual job
Hmm.
is so physically taxing, right? And just to get to be a powerful, authoritative person that gets the bad guy. How much fun is that? The cast was great. Again, very warm, inviting. We didn't have a lot of downtime to like, chitty chat or kiki or whatever together. It was just we were doing business. We were going. There was a lot of action packed moments.
And how much do you think the equipment weighed?
Oh boy, I don't even know. I want to say it added an extra 15, 20 pounds to me, between the helmet and the vest and then the whole uniform and the guns and all of that, maybe 15, 20 pounds, you know? So it's like
That's a lot of.
carrying around extra. I was like, oh wow, this is like, it was a reality check. It was like, oh, right. You know, no wonder they have to maintain their physicality, and do their regimented workout or whatever, just to be able to run wearing that extra weight on them. That's
Yeah.
something, you know, you have to like be conditioned to do that kind of thing, you know, and catch the guy.
Catch
Because
the
they're not
person.
wearing that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to compensate for the extra weight you have chasing down the bad guy who has nothing on. You know?
Right.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah. And all the sweat and everything, and you're like, ah, that's a lot of running.
Exactly, exactly.
And where was it filmed? I'm probably guessing LA, correct?
Yeah, it was LA. I don't recall the specific location, but it was like by a somewhere near the LA River, where the LA River meets like train tracks. I remember the train
Hmm.
tracks were like by where our trailers were. So downtown LA-ish, by that, you know, railway area, because the train, you could hear the trains going by, you know, where we were parked. So
Did you
yeah.
guys have to stop re your set because the train was going by, or did you just kept going?
No, I think they probably just considered the fact that if a train goes by, a train would go by where we are. You know what I mean? I don't think it was
Right.
necessary to like, ooh, that's not in contextually, that doesn't work with the where we're supposed to be. I think
Hmm.
it was like, yeah. Although I think at the time there wasn't a bunch of them going by. You know, it
Right.
wasn't too bad.
And then of course you were in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
And how was that working with those two cast members?
Oh my gosh, so great. Funny enough, the hardest part was to be like the stern, like very serious lawyery person that just like not entertained by their foolishness whatsoever. And I ended up knowing the guy that I was defending. We were like from Florida relationships back in the day, you know? So that was kind of a nice surprise to know someone that you're working with, because oftentimes
Hmm.
you don't know, you know, you're meeting that person for the first time and you're supposed to have like this history of a relationship, so you got to like create that. So it was nice to actually
Right.
know someone, but it was really fun. It was really a great experience too.
Well, that's awesome. You know, a lot of people when they hear about Lethal Weapon, they talk about the old back. Not, I don't say old, but back in the days when Jackie Chan and all them were doing
Right.
it, right? And
Totally,
then they're
totally.
like, TV show Lethal Weapon. Everybody's like, wait, what's happening? And then now they're like, oh, it's kind of like it. So,
Yeah, very similar.
you know, and it's great. And I love the story behind it. Lethal Weapon. It's kind of similar to the old one, so it's really good, you
Mhm.
know, story and everything. So,
Yeah.
and then of course you were in Lucifer.
Yes.
How did you get that role? What was that about?
I will tell you the funny story behind that booking is that I auditioned for a different role. And they wrote to me and said, hey, although you auditioned for this, we want to move you over to this other role. I didn't actually know the details of it until I got to set. But right before I got to set, they were like, so you can move, right? And I was like, I mean, I can, but what are we talking here? Like choreographed moves, or what specifically? And they're like, oh, you got it. As long as you can kind of move, you're good. And so when I got there, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be like this salsa woman, you know what I mean? Like experts that we had a relationship together. And it was funny because I lived a good majority of my life in Florida, Miami specifically. So the fact that we were supposed to be in Miami was like perfect. But what I had found out was that the director, the reason why he was like, oh, she can do this, no problem. He had gone to my Instagram page, and listen, one of my favorite things to do is do like those little dance challenges. I just find it super fun. I'm not a dancer. I mean, I can move, but I just find learning them fun and like copying fun. And I just have a good time doing it. So I do
Right.
quite a bit of those, you know, and I'll rope my best friend into it, or my husband, I'll rope him into doing something with me or whatever. So he had gone and watched these dance challenges that I did. He goes, oh yeah, she's great. She knows how to move. She can dance. I'm like, how do you know? He's like, oh, I've seen your Instagram dances. Like, that tells you you never know. You don't know.
Right.
That's just the hyper awareness that people can find you, people can see you. That medium is global.
Hmm.
So it was super fun. And Tom is just, his heart, can I just say, that man has a golden heart. He found out that my niece is a super fan. Like when she found out I was doing Lucifer, she was like, wait, what now? And so I said to him, my niece is a real big fan. If you could just write something to her or just say a quick hi on a voice note or something. I mean, she would just go through you'd be over the moon about it. He's like, I'll do you one better. And so he goes, get out your phone. And we do this whole thing. And he says her name and he says, hi, Jenna. I just wanted to say thank you for being a fan. And he did all this just for her. I'm telling you, she was in tears. She was just like, ah. But he genuinely appreciated her and how much, she liked the show. She likes him. It was just the sweetest thing. He's a really kind spirit. He's got a
Yeah,
great birthday heart.
that's amazing because, excuse me, I love the show,
Yeah.
and it is absolutely amazing.
He's a
First,
fun,
I was
fun loving. He's just a super fun loving guy. So
yeah,
all the work we did that day was just, it was really cold and just super early. And he made it like the best it could possibly be. You know what I mean? It was
hmm.
great.
And you said you went to Miami.
The scene was supposed to be in Miami, but we did shoot it in LA.
Okay.
So they picked like this spot that looked over a harbor that kind of looked like
Uh-huh.
you were by the Miami skyline kind of thing. But yeah, so we were doing our little salsa dancing and
You
which was,
never know who's watching your Instagrams.
yes, be warned. If you put it out there, chances are people will see it.
Eventually, we just don't know who or, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Um, and then lastly, you were in the 2023 the Candy Lane. You know,
Oh yes, Candy Cane Lane. Yeah.
how was that?
I have to say, like, I was two minded about it because one, what an incredible experience to be a part of this movie, being produced by Eddie Murphy, and he had a three-picture deal going into this, right? And the scene that I got to shoot with the girl that was playing his daughter, fun. Like the couple of days that we worked was amazing because we shot out by the beach, which was a really fun time. I love the water, so anything out there is just incredible. But the downside is that they ended up cutting my main scene from the movie. And I was like, oh man. So I'm in it, but you just kind of see me on the sidelines because I play her track coach. And it does
Mhm.
make sense because at the end of the day, they didn't need the scene, right? It wasn't necessary to the storytelling. And they had so many like cameos and celebrities and guest appearances in the show that my part didn't make the cut, which it was a reminder that you can do all this work and you can literally end up on the cutting room floor, and not because you didn't do a great job. It's just simply because they didn't have the time for it within the space of the movie, or
Mhm.
whatever the reasoning. I'm not 100% certain, but I mean, they were still so wonderful. I mean, they included me in all of the things. I didn't know until it actually aired that I didn't make it onto the actual movie, but like they sent a gift to our house. Like they had this whole care package and they sent like little, Candy Cane Lane hot cocoa mugs and personalized all that stuff. And then the costume designer, oh my gosh, bless his heart. He was like, he saw how much I really liked the sneakers that I wore. And he's like, on the last day, it's yours. And so he just let me take home these amazing sneakers because
Aw,
I'm a runner. And so he's like, oh, then you need to have these, you
that's
know?
absolutely
So,
amazing.
yeah, just the experience was wonderful. And just, I mean, how do you not grow and learn being on set with these amazing
Mhm.
talented actors? It's like a paid, acting workshop. So I appreciate any opportunity to be on set and to watch and to learn and to grow. And the director Reggie, man, talk about a sweet heart. Like he made the whole experience just the best it could possibly be. I would work with him any day, again, anytime, because he's just incredible. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
amazing to hear.
Hmm.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Now, different topic is I think a lot of people are probably wondering is what have you noticed about the entertainment industry that is, challenging?
I mean, honestly, it's being able to work consistently enough to do it full time. I
Mhm.
would say that I feel incredibly grateful that I have been able to do that all of these years. And that's not been without its challenges. We all experienced COVID as a whole, globally. Um, but then there was this back to back with the strike and all those
Right.
things compounding. It just makes it very challenging to only do this. Um, so I would say that's the toughest part. The realization that signing off on you, the booking of the job is not up to you unless you're producing it, right? Or you have a hand in casting it, or somebody's uncle or whatever the case may be that you end up, booking the role. Sometimes it comes down to nothing to do with your talent, but just circumstance, situation, timing, and what they're needing at that moment, right? So those sorts of things are not within your the final say isn't up to you. So what I've learned to do is just have a very diversified portfolio, in the sense that I don't just do, television and film. That's not it's the only thing. I have other things that fill out my skill set so that I can do this full time. So I'm doing commercial work. I'm doing voiceover stuff, specifically audio books, right? Sometimes print work or whatever, in addition to the television and film.
Hmm.
It kind of fills out what I can do so that I don't really experience so much when things tank. So that way, if television and film is not, I mean, when the strike happened, what do you do if that's all you do? Right.
Right.
So luckily I had commercial work to fill in the gaps, and audiobooks and voiceovers and all those things, and print work to fill in that gap in the meantime, so that when one is low, the other one is high. So hopefully it creates that. I mean, it's never going to be balanced, right? There's
Hmm.
stuff, but like creating that environment for yourself so that you can stay in the game. Because I mean, if you're not able to be in the game and you have to take a job doing something else, you don't actually have the availability to audition, right?
Right. Right.
So just being cognizant about what you need to be doing on a holistic, strategic standpoint financially, to be able to stay in it enough to, get where you need to go and do what you need to do, right?
And also, auditions. How do you explain to a lot of young actors or any age who are struggling with auditions? They want to get into this entertainment industry, but how do you give them your 2 cents to anybody who's be watching this interview later on, that they are struggling with auditions? Like, why did I not get this role? Is it because of my hair? Is it because of my makeup? Is it because I'm not tall enough? Boys and girls. So how would you handle that? How would you give them advice?
So you mean like the result of having auditions but not actually booking anything just yet, or
Yes, that's what I was trying to. Yes.
having the auditions and not book anything? It's timing. And I would say my advice would be, don't be so fixated on the end result, meaning the booking, because like I said, that is not in your control. Unless you're producing it or writing it or you have a
Hmm.
casting of it, you cannot determine. You could slay that thing. You could have been the best person. Listen, I got this one director told me at one point, he had really pushed for me to book this commercial. And when I saw him again, I booked something else. He ended up being the director on that thing. And he goes, "You want to know why you didn't get that job? Because the client thought you looked too pretty. And they did not think, they thought my beauty would be distracting for their product." And I was like, well, I'll take that reason any day. I mean,
Right.
I wanted the job, but it's just coming to the realization that that end is not up to you. So
Hmm.
it's just timing. It's the consistency. It's building the muscle. I mean, be so good they can't ignore you. So maybe you don't book the job, but you book the room. You book that director was my fan. He was my advocate behind the scenes. I didn't know that. I didn't know why I didn't get it. I also didn't know he was up for directing it. You don't really know those things. But
Right.
because I had been consistent, he knew my work enough to say, no, she is the one you need for this job. Right. So it's really working on your mindset, because you really need to have some thick skin to do this thing. You get 1,000 times more no's than the average Joe will ever get in their lifetime. And you got to get good with it. You know, you have to figure out a way. What do you need to tell yourself in your mind to keep yourself confident and competent, right? And you don't get swayed so much by the result. And it's the realization that that end result isn't up to you. So in the meantime, as you continue to work, you continue to be like working on your craft. I mean, like
Hmm.
sit here, and even if you don't have an official audition, you can grab a script, put yourself on camera, grab a friend, have them be your reader. There's many ways where you can keep you can stay ready, which I love that saying, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because then you're prepared for when the actual opportunity comes. So however you can work with your psyche, get your
Hmm.
mindset right so that you have confidence even and conviction, even though the bookings haven't shown up yet, they will if you keep doing it. The only way they don't show up is if you quit, right? So it's like
Right.
understanding that it's a
You got to be consistent.
yeah, and I gamify everything. I love to make it a mental game so it doesn't feel as personal, so I don't get caught up in my emotions, right? So I just gamify it, you know. Okay, what's my goal with this audition? Win the room. Cool. You know, I mean, I can't even tell you the numbers of auditions, hundreds and thousands of auditions that I've auditioned for. And really, at the end of the day, you just want to leave an impression on that person that you can be counted on. So whether it's not this job, they'll think of you in the future because you did such a great job, just for whatever reason that didn't work out, you know? And knowing that they're your fans, you not getting the job doesn't mean they don't like you. The fact that you got called in means you're already on their radar. So it's like checking off the boxes that are just
Hmm.
functional, right? If you got an audition, understand that you beat out thousands of submissions just to be invited. Now, if you get a callback or better yet, even still an avail or a pin, you've done your job. You've literally done your job, and then the rest isn't, it's out of your hands.
100%.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things a girlfriend had said, and I was like, ooh, that's so good. She would say, bless it and release it. Meaning you just go in there, you bring your love and your light to this character or this opportunity. And then when it's done, say thank you and walk away and move on. Like go on to the next thing on your plate or whatever you're creating. Go be creative in a different way and not so much fixated on the end result. And if it's for you, there is nothing you can do to not for it not to come to you. Does that make sense? So it's
Yes,
like
it does.
if it's meant for you, nothing and no one can keep it from you. So just know that, just keep it moving. Keep it moving and energetically keep creating, keep putting positive energy out there and just get your mind right. You know, it's like an inside out kind of, I do a lot of like morning ritual things so that I can
Hmm.
get my head in the game. So my mentality is ready for the physicality of what I need to do. You know what I mean? So it's that doing that work. So you're okay with whatever the results are.
Right, 100%. Don't give up. Keep that passion going, and just
Yeah.
keep auditioning. That's 100% true.
It's a numbers
Uh,
game. It's that's what business is, right? At the
mhm.
end of the day, it's a numbers game. And understanding that was everything to me. Like my husband, he's in the money world, right? So in his business, it's like the numbers are 10, 3, 1. So if you meet 10 clients, 3 will be interested and 1 will do business with you. That's the business numbers.
Mhm.
So I adopted that because I was like, okay, I can see that logic. So my goal was to get it down to those business numbers, right? So if I audition 10 times, the likelihood is I'll get 3 callbacks and I'll book a job, right? So if I want to book 3 jobs in a month, I know, okay, well, I need to have 30 auditions, right?
Right.
That's the numbers. That's the numbers game and have 9 callbacks so I can book 3 jobs, right? Does it always work? Well, no, because there's so many things outside of your control, outside of the parameters of what you can do. But if you keep that in mind and gamify it in that way, you can run your business. Like I'm incorporated, right? So I'm really treating this craft as a business. Like this is
Hmm.
how I make my money. So I have to look at it from that vantage point. And it also makes it less personal too. If you just go, okay, what's my next audition? What's my next thing? What am I doing next to build that 30 in this, get the 30 in the system?
Hmm.
I can have a shot at booking 3 jobs this month.
Right, right.
right?
Well, that's a good method that your husband that you got from your husband. You just do 10 auditions. You may get four or three, but at least you got right. That's a good mindset. I like that. That's
Fun. It's been the thing that I go to, and building up to that, because obviously at the beginning of your career, you just know that you have to put a lot of miles in, and you probably won't get a whole lot of return, but it's the consistency of it to build yourself to the place where you can have those, 30 auditions in a month if you
hmm
want for every gig. You gotta ramp up to that, right? Because it's all relationships. So it's every single time you show up for an audition, being on point, being excellent, being the best you can be, but also being authentically you, right? So they
Right.
get the sensibility of who you are. And over time, they're like, oh, at one point in time for TV, they were calling me in for some of the wackiest, craziest things that were not like Nicola. But what I understood by that invitation is that I have been so consistent in their office every time that they're like, she can do anything you throw at her. Just call her in for that. That sounds fun. Let's see what she does with that. You know what I mean? So what a compliment, right? That they're throwing you stuff that you're like, ooh, okay, can I pull this off? But they believe enough in you to invite you to do that, to
Right.
come and play, which is at the end of the day, what are we doing here? We're playing dress up, right?
Right. Right. I mean, at least they're calling you in the office that you feel comfortable.
Yeah, they're like, they believe I can be X, Y, and Z believably. Okay, let's see if I can, how fun.
You never know, right? Somebody could be watching your Instagram.
Exactly.
Yes, just like the director. Now what is your short-term goal and your long-term goal?
Hmm. I would say my short-term goal is to be on an episodic, a television series. I would love to be a part of an ensemble cast as a series lead. I just think the energy between cast members is something that's so precious and makes it so much more fun for me. So I would love to be on something like that with a show concept that's really poignant, that speaks to pouring into people in a positive way. I just want to make a positive impact in the world while I'm here, right? Leave it a bit better than I found it. So that's kind of been my goal. So short term wise is being a series regular on a show as a part of an ensemble cast. And then further down the road, what I've been working on, like during COVID and specifically the strike, I was
hmm
like, what can I be working on right now when there's not a whole lot of work being had because we're on pause, right? And I started to do some writing, which I had written a television series with some friends of mine, and I'm not a writer, or I wasn't a writer, and I asked for their help and their insight and to be co-writers with me. And we ended up writing this pilot for this television series and doing a table read, and at the end of it, after getting the feedback, I was like, wow, we created something and put something out into the world that is important to me. And it just felt so, so, so good. And I thought, well, what else can I do? If I can do that, what else can I do? Because the feedback was incredible. They're like, we want to see this show.
hmm
When is it happening? What are you doing? What's going on with it? And I thought, and it was called The Shift. And it was a lot to do with your mindset shift. How does that happen? And so I started to write this series, and this whole concept for a brand came about called Color Your Kindness. And I came up with this storyline about this young girl named Kindred. And it's all about shaping morals, ethics, and values through the lens of kindness. And the young girl, the main character, is Kindred Spirit, right? She's an 8-year-old girl. She's very precocious. And ideally, what I wanted to do, so it's a book series. And ideally, what I want this series to be able to do is to be on the top 10 list of books to read for scholastics. That's the long-term goal.
hmm
Because I think impacting the school systems and impacting kids and how they grow and mature and what they deem to be important or what they're prioritizing or how their little mindsets are being shaped and formed. I think having a foundation that is based in morals and ethics and values will make a significant impact for our future generation, right? So I've been very passionate about that. I've been working with an animator to actually come up with the character and what she looks like and just all the facets of her personality and day-to-day life. But it's just based on acts of kindness, really. So there's over 100 books in the book series that I'm writing right now. And I've just been having a ton of fun with that. So ideally, down the road, publishing deal for my book series, all under the umbrella Color Your Kindness. And there's t-shirts in the works with it, journals. I want to create some journals for kids. Yeah, so that's kind of been something that developed through, between COVID and the strike and just intuition. Like I feel like this is something that that could benefit the world in a good way.
Right, right. Well, I can't wait for the book to come out.
Yeah, me too.
And you said you don't know when it's coming out yet.
No, I mean we're in the infancy stages of it. Yeah, so just writing and getting, because the concept is not quite like what you would consider a book, but it's
Hmm.
also not quite a comic book, but it's comic book based, but it's also a workbook because there's aspects of the book that the kids can work in. Because again, my goal is for it to be on the top 10 scholastics reading list, right?
Yes.
So it's got to have the educational impact so that it would make, qualify to be a part of that list. But I mean, just having fun with fully developing her personality. She's very precocious, so like how mature is she for an 8-year-old? And I wanted it to be able to speak to a broad range of age, hence the comic book component, but there's also a journal aspect to it.
Hmm.
Different age ranges could relate to what she's saying and how she's saying it and how it looks on a visual spectrum. And a part of it will be a coloring book, so you can color in whatever act of kindness that book is focused on. There will be a word search so that for the older kids, there's lots of words I'm introducing, specifically like synapses. What does that mean? The frontal cortex. Like I really want kids to understand how the mind works so that they have much more of a say so in choosing the emotions that they choose to go with,
Hmm.
how they're feeling, understand why they're feeling how they're feeling. What is the brain doing by design? I think if we understood better how the mind works, we could also better utilize it to work for us. Does that make sense?
Right.
We get so easily caught up in how we feel. And when you take actions on how you feel, that could be a very slippery slope depending on the circumstance or situation that you're in, right? So it's like empowering kids, because you see that the rate of depression right now is so high. It's so high. There's like a lack of hope in most everything everywhere, and you're inundated with it, right? So if we could
Hmm.
introduce into these young minds that although that looks like what it is, there's work within you can do to be able to see that silver lining,
Right,
be able to
right.
have that spark of hope. You know what I'm saying? And how do you navigate that? You know? So I'm passionate about it.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for you that you're making a book about education, helping, especially helping kids out there, and they can read it and do all the word search and coloring, and that's so inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing. I can't wait for it to come out. You have to let me know.
I will. I definitely will keep you posted on how it's going.
Like I said, when we go back to Instagram, that's how I found you, through
Oh, geez,
Instagram.
I was going to ask you how you found me.
I love interviewing actors and actresses, and I found your Instagram, and I said, I'm gonna message you. And then so I did, and I really do appreciate you responding. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
And
honestly feel like we're all connected, right? Like we're just balls of energy, and that energy, whatever you put out, I think you receive. So just being intentional and conscious about like, when I use the platform of Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, my goal has always been to be someone that puts good, positive energy into the world. And if I can inspire someone or redirect someone in some kind of way from the lessons that I'm learning through my day to day, awesome, even better. But I don't want to be the person that creates someone having a bad day. I don't want to aid to that because we have plenty of energy out there in the world
mhm,
that will spiral you in a different direction. My intention has always been to use that platform for good, right? In
right.
whatever, whether it's just silly enough and you're just laughing because it's just absolutely absurd, or just, you know, sharing projects that I'm passionate about, or just life lessons. I mean, we have so much access to people and things and thought leaders and all of that. Just like sharing what I've learned. Like one of my next posts is about like origami. I realized that I had this book that I bought in Hong Kong, and I hadn't cracked it open, and I was like, I wonder if I can do this. Just for the sense of like getting the creative juices flowing. Like whenever you have writer's block, or you just feel like, oh, you know, you just feel heavy or burdened with worry or
Hmm.
thoughts or whatever, and you can't quite muster the good energy going. And I thought, oh, let me try this origami, and I did it, and I was like, oh my god, I ended up making a box, and I was like, I wonder if this is something worth sharing. Like, just do something with your hands that can be productive. That you made something, whether it's
Hmm.
painting, writing, journaling, whatever. Just
Right, right.
outlets to spark and use in other aspects of your life. So I was like, let me video myself try to put this box together. It was so
So
much fun.
are you now making origami?
I literally did the one thing yesterday. I was like, I'm going to sit down and make this origami box and see if I can actually make it. Now, it doesn't look exactly like the picture, but I also think my downfall was because the paper that I used was too thick. It wasn't specifically the thin origami paper. So next go around, I'll actually use the proper paperweight. But this time I was like, I just want to see with the paper that I have in my house, could I make this box? It worked.
So now you're gonna make more origami.
Yes, there is room for improvement.
And so I think I heard you, but what made you decide to start making origami? Because you found the book? That's one of it, but
You know, I have in my natural, what naturally resonates with me is just being creative, like coloring, drawing, writing. Um, what else do I do? Like just anything that's just a creative that you can use, like crochet. Like I picked
hmm.
a crochet needle at one point, and I made so much crochet, it was ridiculous. Like I started making purses. I'm like, oh, if I can make a purse, could I make a belt? How would you design a belt? And like at first I had used a design that you can just copy. You know, they teach you how to do it and you make.
Right, right.
And then I was like, okay, well, I kind of get the foundation of it behind it. So like then I started, could I make a poncho, and could I make a belt, and could I make the little flapper purses and all that? So I just started making, I mean, just a ridiculous amount of crochet items that are wearable. Like where can is this functional, you know? And then I went on a kick and did that. But it's just a way to get your creative juices flowing, that you can use it in the work that you're actually doing to produce something towards purpose, right? So for
Right.
the origami, I looked over and I saw the book on my bookshelf, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have not cracked that book open since Hong Kong, which was in 2006. I was like, let me see if I can do anything in here. And I just flipped to a page that looked like something I wanted to try. And of course, it wasn't like a beginner, just do the little crane thing or whatever. No, no. I went forward all the way in the middle of the book, and it was like, let's make a box. And I was like, I think I could do that. Because it was like, it's 6 separate pieces that you make, but of the same thing. So once you got the first structure, then it was just like connecting the other 6 to make this box.
It got
And so,
work harder and harder.
yeah, so I was like, you know, it's one of those things where it's actually restful for my mind, because it's not what I normally do. It's not memorizing lines, it's not creating character development, it's not along the lines of what I do day to day. It's a welcomed break from what I would normally do. And because the creative juices flow in that area, you have excess to put into the work that I do for a living, if that makes sense. So it's almost like
Hmm.
your mind goes, okay. You know what I mean? And you have something at the end of it, you know, like with the crochet, I think that's why I just went nuts, because I was like, I'll give a belt to this person and a belt to that person. They're like, how did you make this? I'm like, I couldn't tell you. I just started doing it and it worked out. And then I repeated it a couple times, and it's been a while now. So I'd have to refigure out how to do it.
Hmm.
But it's just getting creative, you know,
And
that
that's true. You got to be creative.
yeah, I think we all have an inner artist in us. Whatever that is that you pick up, whether it's painting or journaling or writing or
Hmm.
you name drawing, whatever floats your boat. You know, that kind of like, oh, this is fun and sort of mindless. You know, you don't have to. It's not like Oh my gosh, there's nothing detrimental about it. There's nothing critical that's got to get done. So it's just fun. And that fun inspires ideas, you know.
Right. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's awesome that you're making origami. I can't
I
wait for you to make more. Are you gonna start posting them on your Instagram?
Oh, 100%. I'm gonna definitely the box because I was like, I did this. Like when I made the first piece of the box, I was like, wow, I did it the first try. I was like, huh, I guess I could actually put this box together. And so I just kept going. I mean, you feel such a sense of accomplishment. So it's something to do with the psyche too, because it's like
Hmm.
when you are having that stuckness, that
Happy energy.
yeah, that energy of feeling stuck or you don't know what to do next, it's like, okay, well, let me get a creative outlet and I know I can accomplish this. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like directions. It tells you exact. There's no mistaking how to do it. It's just practicing of the finesse of
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I was like, well, I'll definitely have a product, and it's super fun. You know what I mean? Because it's colorful, and and it doesn't take very long. I mean,
Right,
maybe
right.
I spent 10 minutes, maybe 15, figuring out how to put the box together. But just a creative outlet for you to like express yourself in a different
And
kind of
it kind of, pardon me, I'm sorry, it kind of calms your mind down.
absolutely. It's like getting out of your head and into your hands.
Hmm.
There's something to that physicality. Even science tells you like when you want to give yourself a boost. I love Mel Robbins for her little tips and tricks like the 5-second rule and all those things. The simplicity of it um, doesn't really mirror the massive impact of the science behind it. Very simple. She talks about the high five rule, like high fiving yourself in the mirror. There's a lot connected on the science level with why that works and why that's important. And you reinforcing your being your own cheerleader reinforces confidence, conviction that the spirit of you can do it, right? So it's a little bit of that, like you're getting out of your head, you're just getting a bit too heady with things, and you're getting into your hands, like the physical. It teaches your brain things when you do it that way.
Right, right.
So yeah, fun.
100%. Your mind, your focus, and you're doing things, and makes yourself happy. You're on your own. How do you describe? You're in your own meditation world.
That's it. There's a connectivity to those things.
Right, and that's true. Your mind, your mind, you're focusing and doing your thing, origami, and all the other stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people probably wondering, what do you do for fun when you're not acting?
Well, lately,
Except origami. You mentioned origami already, so
origami. Well, there's two things. Like, I try to. This is more for like clearing my head and setting myself up for the day. I love
hmm.
to go to. There's a park near me called Lake Balboa, and there's a bike path that's about 8 miles. And I like to go out there and I will put in a great podcast and I'll just between running and walking and listening, I just go out there and I'll go out there for like an hour or two and just be in nature. I love the water's there, the ducks, you see the trees, and just become a part, just be outside. That helps me tremendously. That and being out by the beach, like we go to out past Zuma Beach, out in that area every single Sunday. My husband and I go there. It's like the perfect reset for the week. So I'll do that, but that's almost like a reset, refresh thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But lately, I made this friend, and she's incredible. She works with horses. She has 3 horses. She does some therapy with kids, but they just love horses as a family, right? It's her and her husband and her 2 kids.
Right, right.
And from time to time, she'll just say, come out by and see the horses." So her husband actually started teaching me how to ride these horses. And I was like, it's like a dream come true. Because when I was younger, having access to horses seemed something that wealthy people do. It wasn't within my means or in my environment. I didn't know people that had horses. I didn't
Hmm.
attainable owning a horse actually is until I met this couple. It was just, I mean, it's been amazing just to be around that kind of animal. There's such a healing energy about horses. And then getting to ride and understand like the techniques of how to get her to go and to stop and to turn and to trot and to, do all of these things.
Right, right.
Whole other world that I've never been exposed to. But for fun, that's what I've been doing. Like I'll just she'll say, hey, come by, come visit or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then her husband is so passionate. His name's Johnny. And he's so well versed in training these horses, and just he's such a kind, gentle with them. And then teaching me, he's a really good teacher, So I'm like, yes, let's go. So that's what I've been doing.
So now you can ride horses.
I mean, ish. I'll say I'm learning how
So
to.
if you have to audition at a road that you have to ride a horse, you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I do know how to stop and start, get them going or whatever. I mean, I know the very bare minimum basics. Like if they asked me if I was comfortable on a horse, yes. But I would still say like more so on the novice, scope of things. It's not like, yeah, let's do it. I do this every day. No. But
Right.
like, have you ridden a horse before?
No, but I've heard people tell me it's like it's fun but a little nerve-wracking, but they're like, okay, how do you slow down the horse? How do you wait a minute, hold on, right? How do you turn it? How do you want to go this way? And
It's so soothing. Like just being around the horses, they have this calming nature to them, that I didn't really realize until I got to spend a bunch of time out there. And just like it's a very zen experience, to be around them. I think that's why they're really good for dealing with like at-risk youth. They use it therapeutically for
hmm
rehabilitation with young people, adults too, but
hmm
they specifically do it with younger kids, that have had trauma type stuff. So
right, it helps them calm down and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So now people know what you do for fun: origami, horse riding.
And I love to go bowling. I absolutely love bowling. So whatever chance I get to go do it, I go
Are
bowling.
you the competitive type or you just do it for fun?
I compete, but I compete with myself. Does that make sense? So like I'm not trying to like, oh, I'm gonna beat that person. Although yes, if I beat that person, woohoo! But it's more so like, can I beat the score of my last game? Like, what
Okay.
I mean? So I kind of just keep that
So
competition.
how often do you get a strike?
It all depends. It really does fluctuate. Like I definitely don't have that down to a consistent anything. Um, but I'll at least get a strike or two during a game. Which for
Yeah,
me, I'm like, because I'm doing it for fun and I'm not like, oh my gosh, I gotta get it's just, okay, I got a strike, woohoo, everything
that's
aligned.
true. And when you go to the bowling alley, you know, it's interesting and it's kind of fun because you it's kind of weird to say people watch, but you people watch. And
Yeah.
you watch maybe two rows down, you're doing your bowling, and you see the next person, female or a guy, either one. You see them bowl every time. Every time they get up there and they bowl, it's a strike every time. And you're just looking, it's like, how are you not missing anything? How are you just
Uh,
you get the bowl and you strike, 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 and you're like, wow, how are you able to do that? And then you try and you're like, it's not helping. I don't know. I'm doing the same technique. I'm kind of watching them. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's kind of like,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like I go there just to have a good time, and it's a nice game. You just you gamify it. It's just
right.
playing a game to see if I can knock them down. If I do, great. If I don't, great. I mean, I do try to get like some direction. Like, am I twisting when I'm, going down? Am I twisting my hand and that's why it's going to the gutter that way? Or, am I not straight when I'm doing it? So it's going in, whatever direction. So I kind of like, I want to know some of the skill required to knock them down, but I'm not super serious about it. It's not
No,
like,
me
oh
either.
man, oh I gotta practice. No, it's just more for like the
I'm
time.
not I'm not serious about it either, but it's fun. You're right. You have to twist your body, turn the ball or something. And then, if the ball is heavy, you're like you lifting, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. It's like,
And that's the other thing too, like finding the right weight ball. Because sometimes if I've had it where I've bowled with something that's too heavy. So then it
yes, me
at
too.
works, but then at the end, my arm is so fatigued and my um my acuity is so off because my arm is tired because it was too heavy. So I always skew towards like okay, something a bit lighter than what I think to make it to the end of the game and not be like, oh, my arm is shot, I can't do any more. You know what I mean? So there's that too. Like the weight of the ball matters, you know?
Right. 100%. That is 100%. That's true. You know, the weight of the ball. It's just I used to bowl for fun too. Then I kind of got a little lazy
Yeah.
and haven't done it. Now you remind me I should bowl sometime again. So, well, you know, I really appreciate you coming on my show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I always would love to have you back on my show again in the future and talk about your other projects that you've done.
Anytime.
Thank you. Again, of course, like you said, I found you through Instagram. You never know how we find each other in this entertainment industry, you know, and how we support each other in this entertainment industry because you know, a lot of people are, you know, beginners before they get started. They're like, oh, they feel like, oh, is this a competition? Are we all competing against each other? We're not, you know, we're all supporting each other. You know, we all love each other. You know, we wish each other best of luck and roles we get and all this stuff. And but all comes to the end that we're a family. We support each other, and it proves to what happened with the strike, you have actors in New York and Atlanta and Los Angeles and Phoenix and almost Chicago, any of these 50 states, these actors came
Mhm.
out there, but mainly more in LA, you have all these actors, A-list actors who and people go out there and they're like, you know, and you have these A-list actors tell them, hey, it doesn't matter we're A-list or not, we are here supporting everybody in this entertainment industry, and that proves what I'm saying. We're all a family. We're all in this together, and that's touching. That's what's powerful about this entertainment industry.
And I think that's a really critical thing that you're talking about, like understanding that it's not me against you, it's an us thing, and that we all want each other to win. Because, like I was saying earlier, there isn't anything you can do to take away whatever's meant for me. And just understanding that if you're going to compete, compete with yourself. Like, can I be
Yes.
better tomorrow than I was today? Just 1% better. If every day you were getting better by 1%, let that be the competition as opposed to like, ooh, I'm vying for that thing she's vying for and it's her against me. Never, never. Because with that mindset, one, it's very lonely. And two, it's just not true, right? And there's an
Right.
energy that comes along with that thought process that doesn't serve anybody, right? Like I have girlfriends that we're in the same category. We go out against each other all the time, and we're the closest of friends. Because I'm like, if I don't get it, I certainly want you to get it. Like I want you to win, right? And it's just, I think everybody can win when you think about it in that way and a more supportive
Mm-hmm.
connected sense of being. Look, there's plenty of work.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't
100%.
need to fight you for the one thing. Like there's a million other things available to me, right? So yes, we are going up against each other for this thing, but I'm not against you. It's
Mm-hmm.
separate things. I love that you brought that up because we are connected, and that support and that love goes a very long way. Yeah.
That's 100% true. I agree with you. So I love bringing that up. I love because we're a family, and you know, you're in my family. You know, everybody's a family who comes to my show or not. I just love everybody in this entertainment industry, and it's just amazing to hear everyone's stories, how they got in and how they got started in this entertainment industry, why they became a director, why they want to be a producer, you know, writer, an actress, an actor. You know, it's all that stuff. So absolutely amazing. And before I let you go, did your husband ever wanted to be an actor?
Never, never crossed his mind. I mean, he has a very natural giftedness of being able to do a lot of different physicalities. Like he used to be an acrobat slash aerialist as his career, and he would do like Cirque du Soleil type specialty acts, like hand to hand balancing. And he just because he's so athletic, like the he would work with like world renowned gymnasts, and they would teach him something or show him something, and he could just pick it up really quick. So they loved training with him or working with him or teaching him, right? And he has such a great loving spirit too. But he would like pick it up very quickly and be excellent at it. And he did that for a while, but that's as close as performance that I think he'll ever come to. And now he's in the money world. And it's so interesting seeing how his mindset could shift from artistic expression physically to financially. Like he still looks at it as the same. Like he looks at it as creating a financial picture to build
Hmm.
wealth for yourself and putting the puzzle pieces together. So there is an artistic nature to it that he is so amped about. Like when I say he is in his passion, he is in his passion. Like the creativity that he uses to come up with these financial plans for
Right.
family, for himself, for us, and all of that kind of stuff is like exponential because he's so
Hmm.
excited about it. But like if you ask him to say words, he's like scripted words, he's like, no, can't I just want to add, if I'm gonna do it, can I just ad lib? And I'm like, well, there's a script here, so no, you cannot. Because from time to time we'll get auditions together and he will do it because it's what I do. And if they want a real couple, which
Right.
I mean, especially because I rope them into stuff on Instagram, like a lot of casting directors have seen us together. And so they're like, oh, we want your husband to audition for this. So he will get auditions quite a bit. So he'll do them if it's not like a scripted situation where we can improvise stuff. He's fine with that. But like, he has no desire. Acting, nah, not at
It's
all.
done.
Nope, not interested.
Never know. Maybe one day.
One day, we'll see.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you again for coming on, and I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to having you back on my show again.
Anytime. Thank you so, so, so much for asking me. I very much appreciate it. I love that you're creating a platform and pouring into the artists in this kind of way and just allowing us to be able to hear people's stories so that we can realize, oh my gosh, either that's just like me or I had that struggle. I could try that thing. It's a beautiful way to help and support. So thank you. Anytime.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I look forward to talking to you and look forward to having you back.
All righty. Thank you very much. We'll see
You're
you.
welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.